Good morning. I hope you all had a chance to sleep in maybe a little bit this morning due to our late start, so we didn't have class this morning. But I did want to make sure that I touched on a little bit more about research log number 2 that is due next Friday and give you a little bit more information on the literature review, which we would have done in class. So I'll skip through the slides that aren't relevant, but I will say for those students that were signed up for table topics today, if you just want to plan on going on next Friday, the 3rd, that would be great. And then we'll just real briefly touch on the 4 different communication styles and the stress barrier from this week's reading. So we will, I'll touch on that next week. But in terms of the assignment, the research log number 2 that is due next week, it should, if you open up the research log on My Methodist, I'm hoping that you can see me here, go to under My Methodist, under coursework, I'm sorry, it should be course assignments, excuse me. If you open up this research log, I would use this as your template for research log number 2, just like many of you did for research log number 1. So you should see when you open up this Word document that I'm looking for, what is your research question and what is your thesis statement? Those are the 2 things that I really want you to be thinking about, because that will really help you frame and limit your research. Maybe you have a topic that has started out pretty broad. The research question, the thesis statement should help narrow down what exactly are you going to be talking about. So the example that is on this slide, or on this example, was why are your research question or your topic might have been the differences between male and female nurses, or just males in nursing maybe would have been a theme, or maybe it was the pay gap or something around the differences in gender. So maybe there's a lot of differences between the different genders in nursing. There's a lot of different challenges women face with the pay gap, but maybe you want to focus in on your research around why are female nurses paid less than male nurses. That might be your main research question. So then your thesis statement is really developed from the research that you read. So it may be a little bit of your own thoughts or what you've experienced. Okay, sorry for that short delay. So as I was saying, your thesis statement should be developed from some of the initial research that you've done, talking to your interview partner perhaps. It may change over time. So you might start with a thesis statement, and then as you do more and more research, you may realize, okay, I want to fine tune this a little bit. But you should have an idea of how is the research or the information that you're learning answering that question. So your thesis statement might be, female nurses are paid less due to being less likely to negotiate for higher salary and more likely not to take leadership roles due to family responsibilities. So usually a thesis statement should just be one sentence, but it may have multiple parts. Like you'll see there's 2 reasons why female nurses are paid less in that thesis statement, and then that really shapes the rest of your paper. If there's those 2 main points, those will be the 2 main points of your literature review. So for Friday, next Friday, March 3rd, you should have a research question and a thesis statement based on the topic that you sent. If you've changed your topic, that's fine. Write your research question and your thesis statement based on your new topic. In addition to the research question, thesis statement, I want to see how you're doing in terms of finding research and collecting, looking in the databases for some articles. So you should have the APA citation and a summary of the main points. If you want to start answering those 2 other questions, how does it apply to your research question and what questions or concerns do you have about that article, you can, but those are really just to help you start that analysis piece of what you're going to be doing once you get into the literature review. So if you want to get started on those questions, great. If not, they're not. It's not required for this research log. What is required is the research question, the thesis statement, and then 2 sources. I should have the APA citation, so that would include the author's name, the title, the year of publication, the journal, And then you should also summarize briefly the article. Don't give me the entire article. Don't copy and paste the abstract. You can just put a few bullet points, or summarize what the main ideas of that article were. So that is what you should be doing for next week. Back to here's another example of a research question, and this PowerPoint is posted under week 6. So you might, if your topic is leadership styles in healthcare, for example, a research question could be, what are the most effective leadership styles to possess in a healthcare setting? From each topic, there's a number of different research questions, so it's really up to you with how you want to, what you want to focus on. Then for that same example, a thesis statement might be, this paper will explore the different leadership styles exhibited in healthcare setting and the effectiveness of each style. So you might then have 3 leadership styles that you're going to be talking about, and then talking about the effectiveness or the pros and cons of each style. I've given you just a little outline for the paper so that you can start thinking, okay, how do I put a literature review together? So first you have an introduction. What is your topic and why is it important? I do want to highlight though that the literature review should be written in the third person. So you wouldn't say, I think this is an important topic because. You would just simply state, this is an important topic for healthcare providers because. It should be, there should not be I statements in the paper. Then after the introduction, usually there's a review of the literature. That is really just a summary of the articles that you have already read. You would synthesize those. What are the main points, the main findings? And at that time, you might also discuss what are the, are there biases? What are the things that could potentially make it weaker? Was there a bias involved? Was it not a reliable or valid study? That is where you might discuss that. And then the body of the paper is really where you introduce that research question, and then use the research that you've read to answer that question. So you might say what the current research says about that question, hypothesis. What did your interviewee, who did you interview? What was their thoughts on that question? And then you would evaluate the findings. What were the pros and cons of each of the research? Strengths and weaknesses, and then in the conclusion is where you're going to talk about what still needs to be known about this topic. Maybe you find out there's not really that much known about why male nurses get paid more. So that might be a limitation, and you would then introduce what are some ideas you have for how could this be studied so that we gain more information. And we will talk more about the literature review after spring break, but I wanted you to get an idea of this is the structure that I'm looking for. Just as a reminder, this is all in the assignment description, but it should be 4 to 5 pages, and that does not include a title page or your references. It should be 4 to 5 pages of content. It does need to be in APA format. The articles that you use, I want you to be looking for peer-reviewed articles. So when you're searching the databases, there's a checkbox that you can click that states if you're looking for peer-reviewed. So please click on that. If you are looking in your topic and you're finding nothing peer-reviewed, please see me or Emily, the librarian. It's possible that your topic is so new or it's not yet that research that you can't find the peer-reviewed articles. And in that case, we will help you find, you can use other articles as long as they are from reputable sources, even if they aren't peer-reviewed. And then also, leadership is always an evolving area, and so is healthcare. So we'd be looking for articles that are within 5 years. If you find a really great article that's dated longer ago, you could use it, but make sure that you highlight that it is an older article and that is a potential weakness. The majority of your articles should be more recent, within the last 5 years. I also have included 3 really helpful websites here, I think, especially the first one, the writingcenter.unc.edu. It has a really good overview of what is a literature review and what are the things that are included in each section, with some guiding questions that would help you write each section. The other 2 are also helpful. And on My Methodist, I also have an example of a strong literature review from from a student in a prior semester. So those are all resources that you can be looking at. For those of you not going anywhere super fun for spring break, this might be a good thing to get a head on of the get started on that literature review. Make sure you've done your interview so that you could get some work done on this. If you have any questions between now and next Friday, please feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, I will see you next Friday, and I believe we are meeting, I'm just checking my schedule here. We are meeting at 9:30 again. So we will be meeting on next Friday, March 3rd at 9:30. You will turn in both your, you can turn in your research log and your weekly assignment on my Methodist Before class, or you can bring your research log to class, whatever you prefer. Thanks again, and I hope you have a good weekend.